Welcome back to Different Walk Serious Talks, an authentic podcast featuring women from different backgrounds and different walks of life. We have honest discourse about romance, philosophy, finance, lifestyle, and everything in between. Around here, every conversation stays authentic but respectful. Pull up a seat and join the conversation. You're back here with myself, Jessica, Keisha, Autumn, and Farah, and today we'll be talking about hopes and dreams. What hopes did you harbor as a young adult that you let go of as you got older, and why? What shaped your hopes in the first place? Did you see that as growth or a form of death or acceptance? Uh, did you form new hopes once you let go of the old ones? So, does anybody want to start us off?
So
Jessica, start us off.
I'll
No
start us
pressure.
off. It's fine. So when I was younger, I actually had a full scale what I wanted to do as I got older. I wanted to start off as a cop, and then I wanted to become a lawyer and finish off with being a judge. Now, as I got older, when I was in college, actually in high school, I did dual enrollment. I actually studied law and psychology. And towards the end of my associate's degree, for my law degree, we had to go into law rooms. And I realized that I was a little bit too empathetic to be a lawyer, but I did still want to be a cop. I went ahead and tried to apply for the academy and was told I was too small. And this is like still the early 2000s. I was told I was too small for actually to be a beat cop, but I can work inside at a desk. And that's not what I wanted. So I ended up rerouting to be a flight attendant. And I did a year of school and was told I was too small. So you actually
Not
go
too
on,
small for that one, too short. That was
yeah,
too
it's too
short.
short. I was too
That's
short.
right.
So, which is
I
still too
remember that.
small. So I went to maybe 6 or 7 different interviews, United Airlines, American Airlines, JetBlue. And every time I went, they basically made you try and reach something that they had up high without any type of ladders. And sometimes I could reach it with my fingertips, but that's actually not good enough. Now it is. Now you can be any height to be a flight attendant. But back then, they were very specific about what they were looking for. It didn't matter whether I could actually handle getting it down because I could. I actually worked my muscles very good. So I was really good with I could bench about 150 back then. And it still wasn't good enough for them. So I decided to try and join the military. And when I took all the tests, passed with flying colors. I had actually taken them when I was in ROTC in high school anyway. But since I thought I was going to be a cop and a lawyer and a judge, I didn't go to the military right off. And by the time I did decide to go, even though I was fairly slim at the time, my BMI was too high. So I have, even now, I'm considered to be a high BMI for my size. I have lots of hips and plenty, up top. And so I did not get into the military based off of my BMI. And I was really sad at the time, and my life kind of derailed. I was
Oh,
smoking marijuana all the time, which isn't how why my life derailed. It was actually the men in my life, following men around, living their hopes and dreams since I couldn't live my own, giving them all of my money. And at the time, I did end up moving to California because one of my exes got out. They were stalking me. So I moved to California, and the person that I chose at that particular time was taking advantage of how nice I was and taking all my money, and we end up homeless. And it took me being homeless with him to realize that I need to get my life back on track. And especially after you end up in jail, I really got my life back on track. I held 3 jobs at a time, sometimes four. I never really went back to college until after I came back to Florida. When mommy got sick and she was diagnosed with the brain tumors, I decided that I didn't want to waste my life before she died. And I told her I would go back to college, and I did finish with a bachelor's degree. But in getting my business degree, I went for business management with a minor in psychology. I got into a nice amount of car accidents at the time. And I'm sure you remember, Jessica, people just kept hitting me. No matter what color car, I tried to switch the color of my car and everything. I kept getting hit at stop signs, stop lights, in a parking spot. So, with all those car accidents, my spine did get messed up. And if you don't get a job right out of college, the longer it takes, the harder it is to get a job. So, after 3 or 4 years of back to back physical therapy, massage therapy, I end up spasming through my neck because the spinal issues I have is a rotations, and I also have some bulging in my lower back. And with that, since my spine is so messed up, it was kind of hard to hold a job. Even the job that I had for 6 years, which was Dal America at the time, while I was having all those accidents and completing my college degree, they let me go because they were scared that I was a liability because of my spasms in my neck. And I went to the doctors for about 7 years and I kept on holding small jobs. Like I ended up at Toys R Us until they actually closed down in the US. And I worked for 7-Eleven and Circle K. But even with 3 paychecks, it was still hard to hold my own. I did end up finally getting my own apartment eventually, and I saved up some money, and I did finally become a manager at 7-Eleven. But with all that, the doctors determined that if I didn't get a device in my neck that pumped morphine into me all the time, that it must be psychological. And they said I'm not exactly disabled, I'm temporarily disabled, which I still have spasms to this day. And it's been, I think the accident started in like 2011 and it's 2026. So this is 15 years, my neck spasms here and there, especially like in cold weather and such. And I've held jobs. Just I've never been able to go back to full-time management. So 7-Eleven gave me a assistant manager job, but not management. And when I worked for Universal, I loved that job, but I just didn't really want to be a supervisor by that point. It was so fun and I could do whatever I wanted and it worked with my disability until I got pregnant and I became a stay-at-home mom. So now my hopes and dreams are to make sure my daughter grows and doesn't have the same issues I have and hopefully doesn't get into some of the things I got into and she stays on course. And hopefully she doesn't go through some of the things I went through to not be able to do stuff because things have changed, you know? She won't be too small for anything. She won't be too short for anything because there's rules against that now.
Makes sense. So, do you feel like throughout that time, like all those different changes, did you like just reform hopes and dreams through it, or were you just kind of trying to make it to the next place?
I'm a hoper. I love dreaming. I'm always dreaming about something, whether it's staring up at the clouds and finding something. I always think when I get knocked down, it's for a reason. I believe that sometimes I don't know if you guys have ever heard, make plans so God can have a good laugh. So sometimes he needs a good laugh and he doesn't exactly have the same plan that we made. And sometimes you'll get knocked down so that you can get back on course. And God had for me to be a stay-at-home mom when I got older, which wouldn't have been possible when I was younger. And I did. I wanted a lot of children, but
Yeah.
it wasn't
You
set
wanted
for me to
10.
be a young mother. I did. I wanted 10 children.
You
Uh,
wanted 10 kids, I remember.
yes, and now I only have the
And she
one,
wanted 10
and
kids.
I,
10!
Yeah,
I would love
10.
to
She
have a
was she
flock of
was like
children.
10. 10.
I would still love to have a lot of children, but it's probably not meant to be in my cards, which is okay. I do have one daughter, and I hope to have another child at some point. But even if God only blessed me with her, she is amazing. So I am happy with what I have. And although I do try and plan stuff here and there, I'm not super worried about planning because I know God will give me what I need when I need it. Even with financials, sometimes, you know, you go up and down with financials, especially with my medical issues. Medical issues will take you out. There is no medical issue, whether it's big or small, that won't hurt you financially. And the more you have to go to doctors, the more you can't save money. Like, I'm sure you know, Jessica, sometimes my medical bills, once I was in the hospital for, I believe, 2 weeks, and I had a $500,000
My
I
God.
had $500,000 that I owed, and by God's grace, I applied for so many different financial aid programs, through the hospital, through Medicaid, through the government, and I just, I paid a little bit here and there where I could, but eventually all of it got taken care of, and I don't know how. It's not that I don't still have medical debt, because I do. It's nowhere near $500,000, but I still go to the doctors a lot. I still have to go to I have the GI, I have a neurologist, I have the dermatologist, I have specialty doctors that focus on your spine. So with these doctors, you pay pretty much when you go, and then as most people know, when you go to a doctor, you get the copay there, and then you get the bill afterwards from what they actually did. So if you go to doctors and they perform this test, that test, and the third test, the copay only covers you seeing the doctor. Everything that they do is sent in the mail. So there's plenty of different payment plans that we end up, setting up, but we're actually doing fairly well, even though my medical bills every year pile up to 20, $30,000 sometimes. And somehow by God's grace, we try and get them back down. And sometimes we get to zero at the end of the year. Sometimes we only have 5 or 6,000 left, but sometimes, especially if I've been in the hospital a few times, it might be a couple of $100,000. And somehow, all you can do is apply for, they have so many different programs that help you. And a lot of people don't realize it, but you can look up the specific hospital you were in and say, hey, how can you help me? And especially with honey, people will help you. Don't use vinegar. Don't use vinegar. Vinegar helps people run. Some people smell vinegar, they're like, oh, I gotta run. Use honey. And the more you lay it on thick, the more likely people will be like, you know what? Let me put you on hold and check this program. And it might be for you, and they might be able to take care of those medical bills that you weren't sure that you were going to drown under. So it is, it works
It's
out.
nice to be nice. Like, it really it helps you in ways that people don't realize, and they're like, "Well, I could just say whatever I want. Who gonna check me? Life." Life gonna check you real
Uh-huh.
quick. Life, karma, all that is gonna check you. So
Yeah,
think what you want, but yeah, being nice pays off, and it's not just like trying to like suck up to people because I don't suck up to anybody, but I am nice to everybody that I encounter. I don't have any anxiety about talking to somebody that I think like I don't think of people as above or below me. I think of people as just other people and they have different resources than I have. So if when I connect with somebody, you might be able to use my resources. I might be able to use yours. And even if we don't become actual friends, then we can become resources for each other. So everybody
exactly.
has
And
a
one of
different
my favorite
function.
things when something's going wrong, and even if like somebody starts to catch an attitude, I like to switch it up a little bit when I feel like I'm starting to have an attitude and say something like, "Hey, you know what? Can you do me a favor?" And I'll pause and wait for them, especially if we were the conversation was starting to get heated. Be like, "Hey, can you do me a favor? I really wasn't trying to catch an attitude with you. I know that sometimes I have a bad attitude, especially, sick people. We're just awful sometimes. I'm gonna bring myself back. Can you come back with me?" It definitely helps, especially if I apologize. Even without outright saying I apologize, just saying, "Hey, I'm being terrible and I'm not meaning to be. So can you take a step back with me and look at this situation with some clear eyes? Because I really do need your help." It's just laying it on thick, making sure that I'm remembering that I'm the one who's trying to get the help. Because at the end of the day, they don't have to help me. I'm sure they have their own bills to worry about. They're not worried about my bills. No matter where you work, no matter how empathetic you are, at the end of the day, you have your own family. You have your own anxieties. I don't know what kind of day you were having before I called, but hopefully when we get off the phone, you're having a better day. So
Yeah. What about you, Keisha? Do you have any hopes and dreams you want to share? Anything you thought about when you were younger that maybe changed or morphed as you got older?
I would say that The one that sticks out in my mind, particularly in this day and age, is that I think I've always had like a really strong sense of justice and what is right versus what's wrong. And I always, thought when I was coming up that like if you do something wrong, you'll get punished. And now that I'm older, I see that that's not really a thing. People that have enough money and resources get away with all kinds of stuff and they sleep just fine at night. So that's one of the things that I've had to let go of because it'll keep me up. It'll keep me up at night thinking about a lot of the injustices that take place in this world. So, yeah, there's some things that happened in the news recently where I was devastated and I had to literally like talk myself through it and be like I have to call my power back to me. I have to call my power back because the amount of injustice was like it was draining me. I was devastated. It hurt. It broke my heart. But my tears don't bring justice, right? There's things that I can do to help call for justice. And hopefully it's actually done. But I had to just sit there and I had to grapple with it and tell myself, we have to shift. We have to shift that energy. So that's the one that stands out most to me. And I'm still going to hope that we have a more just and verdant future. But I just have to come to terms with what the reality is right now and what's within our power to control.
I like that. I like that you're looking at what's actionable and you allowed yourself to feel those feelings because that's important too, right? Like people will be like, "All right, well then I'm just not going to care about anything," which is also
Yeah.
not a great stance to take. But you're like, "All right, I'm going to feel it. I'm going to call my power back to myself." Like you said, like you are giving somebody else the power to train your emotions, which can be very very uh difficult. And then you're like, "All right, what actionable thing can I get out of this?
Yeah.
It's a terrible situation, but what do I actually do? What can I do to go towards my own future and a better future for us?" So, I love that.
What about you, Jess?
Um, so I my life turned out way different than I thought it would. Um, when I was young, I, read a lot of books and I did a lot of writing, and I thought I was gonna be a journalist with a bunch of kids. And so I was like, my aim is to have kids not that young but kind of young in my 20s. So I'm going to go ahead and go to college. I'm going to become a journalist, maybe a photojournalist. I'm going to travel a lot and I'm going to travel with my children, so I'll probably homeschool them, and then my husband, he's gonna need a remote job. This is before jobs were a big thing. So, I was like, I don't know what he's gonna do, but he's gonna have something that he can take with him.
Grapple with.
So
Yeah.
maybe I'll just marry another journalist. All this not knowing anything. So, maybe I'll marry another journalist. And then once I get to whatever age, I'm gonna have 4 to 6 kids and we're gonna buy a house and I want to so I had a dream when I was younger. And this is a weird dream because this is before I know anything about any type of financial stability, but I had a dream that I had not married yet, but I had gotten out of college, I had a job, and I looked at like an Excel spreadsheet that I had made and I was like, all right, so I am only allowed to use 50% of my earnings. So whatever I do, 50% is the max. And so I went and I stayed in an apartment and everything that I was making, 50% would go into a savings account. In a year, I bought a house. A year after that, I bought some extra land. I had an old car, and I was just making all these investments into a bunch of stuff. Now, I didn't know anything about investment. I didn't even know how to really make a good budget at that time. But in that dream, I was making decent money, not even great, and my thought process was 50% or less. And then every time I got a raise throughout that dream, I was like, nope, 50% of my original salary. That's it. That's all I'm allowed to spend. Um, Obviously I didn't do that. I should have. That should have been my thought, that should have been exactly what I did. But I did not. And I I would wanted to build a house when I was younger. Like I had dreams about
Mm.
sitting down with my non-existent husband and like drawing out plans for the house that we would build together. Um, and obviously, again, that didn't happen. So, um, yeah, I was thrown off when I was in my first year of college. My mom got sick, and she moved in with me. So my first apartment that I got, she got sick, and was not able to return to work. Her job let her go, and I ended up dropping out of college to, but not until so, um, also a friend of the family dropped off their kid with us. So they were like, yeah, they were uh, less than a month old, and, at first they were like, "Hey, can they stay here overnight?" Of course, and bring any child to my home, they will be safe. A couple days later, they dropped them off and did not come back for months. So, I ended up raising a kid for 6 years, and that was not something that was in the plans, but it was a beautiful gift. It was such a gift to be able to do that, but taking care of, an infant and taking care of an ailing mother when I was making 6.25 an hour was definitely not in the original plans, you know? So, um, it just changed the way that I looked at everything, and it changed the dreams that I had because all my dreams at that point were more focused on, like, how can I make life the best for my mom and this child? And so, like, my dreams completely shifted at that point. I was working 3 jobs at one time, and I was just, like, kind of in a wheel, but in a wheel of, like, joy and work, joy and work, joy and work. Because I remember, there was a point that I had 2 jobs that were at the same place. So I worked at Universal at City Walk, but I also worked at the movie theater there. So I would go in the morning at 6 a.m., go work at the carts. After I got off, I would have about an hour in between, go work at the movie theater, get off. It was anywhere between like 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. I would get off, drive home, and then take, the child from my mom. I would feed him, bathe him, get everything together, get all the snacks together for the next day, make sure that all his bottles were ready so that she would have an okay time of it, so that she wouldn't have to wash them or do anything like that was heavy lifting. And then I would take him, and he would fall asleep on my chest until I had to go to work the next morning. So I would put him down on the bed, go take a quick shower, 5 minutes or less, grab him, bring him back to my mom to sleep, and go right back to work. And that was 7 days a week for like a year. Um, but it was this joy of being able to see him in these, first steps of life, and being able to say, "Yes, I can support him. Yes, I can pay all the bills. Yes, I can do everything that I can do for all the people that I love in my life." And, my mom was having a really hard time, and I was just trying to figure out a way for her not to have to go to the hospital every other week. And so that was, another part of it is that, a lot of her medicine they would give her a medicine at the ER and say, "This should take care of it," and so it'd be a couple $100, and then they would say, "Oh, no, it's a different medicine," 2 weeks later. So it was sort of a hamster wheel of joy and sadness and hope that maybe something would change. And then once, an event happened that he was no longer my life, then I also had to pivot. So, an event happened, the child was back with his mom, um, and that was a very odd space in my life because I had to figure out, like, I had centered my dreams around this child, and I had, had talked about,
Adopting.
so adopting him. Sorry, yeah, I talked
When
about
we all live together.
adopting him, and trying to see what the future would look like with him in it. And then once he wasn't in it, like, I was like, I don't know what I don't. I can't go back to the dreams that I had. It's not. They don't even seem important anymore. Um, so then I had to kind of pivot and figure out what my life looked like. And, I ended up working at, this place, I ended up working at AT&T for a little bit, for the, that, like, wireless. And it's so funny because working at AT&T Wireless, it was fun, it was cool, whatever. I ended up, when I left there, I worked for another place, and I contracted. Now, that contract ended, and the lady was like, you're like the nicest person I've ever met. I definitely need to find you another job." I was like, "It's fine. I think I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might go back to school." And she was like, "No, I'm 100% gonna find you another job." I was like, sure, whatever." And so, she actually went in, and found another job for me, and she told them, yes, she does telecommunications. Mind you, ye yes, it's telecommunications, but if you talk to anybody in the telecommunications industry, they're not talking about your cell phones. They're just
Yeah.
not. Right? They're talking about the wires that go to your house to give you cable, internet, all of that stuff, and the wires that go to businesses to get, to give radar and all sorts of other services. So I'm going to this company and they're like, so what do you actually know?" And I'm like, uh, uh I know how to be nice. Like, like, you don't understand. This is like this entire conversation was he's like, "Do you know what a T1 is?" "No, no, sir." "Do you know what a DS1 is?" "Do you know what a DS0 is?" "No, no, no, sir." "Okay. So, but you've had customer service experience, all of this, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I've had customer service experience. I've done this. I like to figure out how things work and da da da." I'm telling him all my job history. And he's like, "So, you are not the candidate that I was thinking about. I was thinking about somebody who had experience in the industry and all of that. However, you have had a fantastic interview and I want to hire you. I just wanna hire you to call people and ask them if their phone works." And so that was how I started my telecommunications career, was out of not knowing anything. And then when I got there, I asked him, "Hey, so if I make all these calls, if I call everybody who's in queue to call, can I just learn stuff from people?" He was like, "Absolutely." So I would go and I would close all these tickets and I would make all the calls that I needed to make. And then I would sit with people and learn how the telecommunications industry worked. I would learn how people, if anybody from telecommunications is watching this, I would learn how to like how you test on a slick, and how like you test DS zeros and T1s, and there were only a couple people there that learned how to that knew how to test T1s, which is a specific technology. So I learned that, and then when another center came to teach us how, I learned how better than everybody else, and I ended up a trainer. So that started my entire career with telecommunications. So, and I've been in that career now, for, I don't know, 15, 17 years. So
16. It was right before
16?
Kayla was born. Yeah, you got that job right before Kayla was born. We all moved in together, and it was 2009 because it was right when I came back from California because
That
mommy had
might
the
have
tumor
been.
and
It
was
might be
about to have
16
that
years.
surgery. And all of
So
us
it'll
moved in
be
together to help each other out.
yeah. So it'll be 17 years this year. So it's been almost 17 years, and I love it, and I've moved into the management space, and since then my dreams have also shifted because I've realized that I love supporting people, and it's translated. It's been a personal thing of mine. I really love supporting the people that I love and care for. But I realized that even from a professional sense, if I can translate that into something actionable, if I can support people in their hopes and dreams, that is like I've talked about it before. I feel like that's my calling in life, is that I like to support people. Um, I do need to, as we have talked about in a couple episodes, I need to understand where the line is, where it's not pouring out of a cup that's becoming empty on my end, so that I can figure out where, where the balance is. But being able to give people resources that they may not otherwise have gotten, or may not have gotten in an expedient manner, has been a fantastic thing for me. And I still want to be a mother. I still want to be a mother. I still want to be a wife. And I pray for my husband. I pray for, the children that if that's what God has for me, that's exactly what I want. But that's, my hopes and dreams are centered around being the best person that I can be. and making the best choices that I can make for my life and being the best influence. And we talked about my favorite book before, but I'll mention it again. Speaker for the Dead. I would love for when I move on, when I die, that when people speak at my funeral, they're not just giving empty phrases. They're saying things that are actually true. Like, there aren't people in the back who's like, "That was not Jess. That, like, I know she dead now, but Lord, let's not take it too far." Like, I want people to actually say things and people are like, "Yep,
I think they will
yep,
though, because you've helped plenty of people find jobs. I'm a witness to it. Even people who are down on their luck or like, oh, I'm just not good at anything. And you're like, "Ugh, you got to be good at something. Come on over." So I think you do help a lot of people. And I think that your funeral, God forbid, it's anytime. It should be at least 40, 50 years down the line, if not, an eternity. But I think you will have a lot of good words. Please, please, if you at least
thank
can't go
you."
before me. I'm just
'Cause you have
saying.
I don't
you're
know.
more
We
than
might have to
welcome.
go holding hands because you can't go before me either.
I'm okay
We're
with
just
that.
gonna go holding hands in about 90 years.
Yeah, I can't imagine my life without any of my siblings. They make me a better person, so even when I don't feel like being a better person.
I
So,
like that. I
Autumn,
mean, we keep each
we
other
made
accountable.
Jessica go first.
Yeah. What are your Tell us about your
Save
hopes
the
and
best for
dreams.
last, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, good Lord. Where can I begin? Oh, man. Um, when I was little, I had this notion. You remember, like, your parents or somebody in your family shoot for the stars, you know? I was one of those people that shooting for the stars. When I was a youngster, we didn't have much growing up, me and my brother and I. And we just made the best of everything. But for myself, as a young girl, I always wanted to be a model slash actress. So I think I had the looks, but and I had the height as well when I was in my teenage years. I would go to like casting calls or modeling calls or whatever. My mom would, you know, hot iron my hair. My hair was long as hell. So I remember I that was my dream to go to Hollywood and become an actress and become a model. But that didn't happen because my childhood was rough. And I believe any child foundation for anybody's life is home. The foundation for anybody's life is at home. If you have a dysfunctional foundation or home life, it can easily disrupt any other hopes and dreams as a child moving forward. So I shifted from my dreams of wanting to be an actress and model to survival mode. I just wanted to get out the house. I didn't care. Just go, explore, live my life. And I joined the army. That was my ticket out. Just to go. That was my ticket out. And along with me wanting to be an actress and a model, I wanted to travel the world, go everywhere. So what better profession to do that than you join the military? Military people, they stationed in Germany, they stationed in these different little places. And I joined, but I really didn't want to. Or I wanted to go to college, but my last 2 years of high school was just crazy. So I had no other choice but to join the military. And I remember I was so skinny, it required me to get a waiver to get into the military. I almost didn't I almost wasn't eligible to join the military because I was so skinny. So my recruiter at the time was just beefing me up, taking me to fast food restaurants and everything just so I can make weight. I was actually 99 pounds,
My
like
God.
99 pounds when I was when I was trying to join the military. So, I made it to 105 and I passed my waiver pass. So that was a good thing. I and that's during that time I entered my first long-term relationship. Didn't know nothing about dating, didn't know nothing about relationships, nothing. So, um, had the relationship, got married young, and when you marry young, you don't know everything. You don't. And let's just say the relationship didn't last. But I stayed in the military and I was stationed in Korea. My very first my very first travel destination. I was there for a year. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. It was even my first time on an airplane. After that, I was hooked. I was like, hell yes. Send me
Nice.
everywhere, you know?
Nice.
So my military career was short-lived because my last duty station, I was stationed in Fort Drum. My God, that place is when hell freezes over, that's the place. Oh my God, it was so cold, and we had to do physical work on ice and sleet, and it was frigid, and all the work that is required, physical work that's required being in the military, it took a pounding on my body real bad to the point it just messed up my joints. So I had a short-lived military career, but I was able to utilize those skills that I learned in the military for future jobs and whatnot. Then I was discharged from the military and I decided I wanted to go to school. I love psychology. Love, 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 love psychology. So I majored in psychology and I am I dropped out in my senior year, senior year of college. So I didn't finish my college degree. But I always still had in the back of my head shoot for the stars for with anything that I wanted to do. Which was traveling, and I threw away the idea of being a model or actress. I threw those are little childhood dreams. I left them alone. But I always always wanted financial independence and to travel the world. And I did achieve that. I did. I was able to land jobs overseas for almost a decade, I want to say, uh, working in the Middle East, different countries. And I traveled so many different places. It's not even funny. My biggest flex is I've traveled 10% of the world, and I'm going to continue to travel some more. I have airplanes, trains, and buses in my veins. That's how much I love to travel. If what's the signs? I will work for I will work for food.
Mhm.
I will work for travel. I had a sign.
I like it.
I will work for travel, and I and it's kind of hard now because I got little ones.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to incorporate that with them. Like my youngest, my baby, every other day, he has a poster that he has to learn the different modes of transportation. And he'll bring this little poster to me and he's like, Mom, I want this. And the things that he's pointing at on these posters is an airplane, a train, a ship, and a taxi. in those order. I'm like, I gotta get my stuff together. I gotta get my stuff together because
Yeah.
my baby wants to travel. He got the traveling bug. So my hopes and dreams is to continue to do the things that I enjoy doing and sharing it with my children. My hopes and dreams is to continue to live a life of financial independence. Um, I've lived a charmed life. Thank God and thank the universe. A lot of things that I have set out for myself, I have accomplished and will continue to do so. So I don't have much to complain about except for my little raggedy relationships I've had or whatever, and I've learned to stop centering myself around other people because that was one of my downfalls. I was always trying to we what my dreams and aspirations are may not be the same for my partner. So that is something that I had to learn. Like, I love real estate investing, and here I am trying to build a real estate empire. Real close, real close. But my partner don't care about that stuff. So I learned whatever I want, my dreams and goals and aspirations are for myself. They for myself, and that is it. That's it. So yeah, and world
Well,
peace is what I hope.
maybe since our children are the same age and we both are trying to homeschool, we can take some trips that are educational together.
Yes,
I would
yes.
love
You
I
know
want to
that.
what?
learn. I
Yeah.
want to learn.
You could come too. I was actually reading on one of the I'm in a bunch of different mom groups, and one of the mom groups, they put together trips for their children to take out of state, out of country for educational purposes. So if they're learning about Japan, they're going to take them to Japan and have them actually live, for sometimes a month in Japan so they can learn different things about Japan. They can take them to all these different places, and you're
That
not just doing
sounds awesome.
yeah, and you're not just doing book work, you're actively living and actively learning. And I thought that was pretty cool of these moms to be doing that for their children. I thought as my daughter gets older, I would love to do something like that. And being that you love to travel like like to travel, hopefully we can get together and teach our children. So that would be really fun.
Yes, I agree. We have to
And y'all
figure
could
that
come with
out.
us so we could take different walk serious talks right on the road.
Yeah. I didn't think about traveling until I was older. Like I guess because we're on a hamster wheel, and we like you said, we didn't grow up with much. So
But we
like we
did
didn't
travel a lot
our
though. You can't say we
we
didn't travel.
traveled
Mommy had us
within
traveling,
the
even if it
US.
was just up and down. Well, in our
That's what I'm
teenage years,
saying.
she always
So
had us take small cruises to the islands because she wanted us to be familiar with
who
the islands. We went to
who
the islands a couple of times.
you
No,
you
you
so
too.
I
You
didn't start
too. Don't
going to the
forget.
islands till I graduated high school.
Remember when
And
you
so
got
I was a
seriously
teenager.
tipsy? That was
I was a
before you
teenager, but
graduated.
it was not. My first trip to Bahamas was
I
my
think you
my
got so
graduating
tipsy
year.
you forgot that one. Because
I
she stayed
promise
tipsy
you it
days over
was.
there the
The
whole
reason
trip.
why no, because I didn't drink alcohol till I was 18. So I didn't drink any
You
alcohol at
sure?
all in life.
Because I remember
100%.
one of the great
I
things about, I'm
I
pretty sure I was
remember.
the 18-year-old that was getting drunk
Nope.
when we went.
No, you were 20. So you didn't
No,
go the
I
first
drank
time I
way
went.
before 20, baby. I was drinking at 12. Let's not pretend.
I'm saying that
Yeah.
you were 20 when I went with you. So the first year I went, you didn't go. It was me
Bad
and
Farrah.
and
I was
Valencia
doing
from
drugs.
so it was me and Valencia from church. It was and you didn't go because I remember that was my first time ever outside of the US, and I had $80 for the entire trip. 5 days and I had $80.
Which is
And it
actually
had been
wasn't that
given.
bad back then. $80 was actually a lot of
No,
money
no,
back in
no,
the
no.
day.
That was to include like any tips, anything that I had to give like the drivers to go anywhere. So like I was like, I guess I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna go to like I got some snacks to bring in my room,
We've always
and I
looked
was
at things
like,
differently when it came to money,
let
though. Because I would have the same amount as money you had, and I'd be like, I'm rich.
but you also probably would have been treated by other people to several meals.
You could have been treated
Like,
too. You could have been treated. All you had to
yeah.
do is smile, but
Well,
you you would have that
I've
mean
never
look on
been
your face.
I never have a mean mug.
She had a rest and be face.
I don't. I
Not
never do,
exactly B.
but
It
I
was more
also
so like I'm not having a
not
good time. Like why y'all
that's
bothering
never
me?
no, that's never been a thing, but when people I've always had a bit of an issue, so people would offer and I would say no. So
She's
even
fiercely
See,
from that
independent.
like I
age.
said, she
So
could have had the exact same
Very
life. She
independent
there's
for
the
You
sure.
there's the
take
root
the
of it.
offer, you
because
just
People
didn't,
offer, just take it. Like what they
it
gonna do with, especially with all your sisters
I
around, what
don't
they gonna do?
know.
Nothing. Just
My
like that
sisters
one
weren't
time that dude
around.
tried you, we tore him up and put him outside.
and you know
We don't
what?
But
play
my
about
sisters
her.
weren't around. You weren't around. I was 17 and I was in the Bahamas. It was with mommy's best friend and a whole so the first time I went to the Bahamas was with my mom's best friend and the whole football team of another school. I went 2 separate years with both of their like the first year and then the second year you went as well, but the first year like
I didn't go in my 20s at all to the Bahamas. That's why I'm trying to figure out
so
what you're
it
talking
must
about.
have
In
been the
my
third
20s,
year.
because keep in mind that by the time I turned 21, I was pretty much moving out of state.
So so after I got out of high school, I went when I was 17, 18, 19, and 20. So the first 4 years that I got out of high school, that's the only place I went internationally was the Bahamas. I would like save up and I would pay over time and I wouldn't go with a lot of money.
I didn't
The
go as much as
$80
you
that
did. Even back then, because remember,
correct.
I hated
In those
ships.
years,
I hated ships. Oh my God, I'm not
correct.
a cruiser. I am not.
I
I
I
like
love
get
flying
motion
cruising.
I
somewhere.
love
sickness
cruising.
in the car.
I love
I am okay
I
with
don't
dealing with it
love
in the car,
cruising.
but it's like, oh my God.
Different on a big boat, though. You don't feel it as much
No,
on the
you
big
feel it.
boat.
Yeah,
People always
exactly.
say
And
that. Lies.
get some
I
motion
feel
sickness
everything.
That's
You
too.
have to
pure.
keep in mind that I'm an empath in the first
There
place. So
no,
I feel what
you have
you're feeling sometimes, and then I still feel what
there
I'm feeling, and I feel
that's
every
not
single
even
little
it.
emotion.
That's not even it. Farrah has bad luck when it comes to cruises. Every time she's been on a cruise has been like during a storm. Like
Oh,
when we went, it was
oh.
during a storm.
I'm not cruising with
We
Barrett in. I
like
don't need that.
I know,
Not
right?
every
every
time she's
time. I've been on
gone,
a few
We gonna
cruises. When
almost
we
almost
went
every
when I
everything.
was pregnant,
time.
there was no
Okay.
storms.
There was. You don't
Was
remember? You
No.
don't remember that
Girl,
we
I
No.
just
we
remember getting
brought some
sick.
no,
I'm
you don't
just
But
gonna
remember
meet
that
you wherever we're gonna be. Let's
the
not
people
cruise together.
at
I'm gonna
the
fly
table
over
next
there.
to us. We had bought
I know, right?
some
oh yeah, and they
medicine.
needed some medicine. That's
Yes, and they
right.
needed it because it was so terrible that we were wanting to be on a higher deck and we ended up on a lower deck. Come to find out that the higher up you are, the worse it is when it comes to swaying.
Yes.
So
So it's actually
we
better
ended
to
up
be on
on
the
a
ground floor
correct. We were closer to the swaying, so it was
And
less
towards the
swaying.
center.
They were on the
If you're
top
staying
deck,
in
you
the
know,
middle.
having I think they were on their honeymoon or something, and they were so sick. They
Oh,
were so and so many people were like, I will never go on a cruise again.
And I'm a fanny
This
pack
is
kind of
for the
girl, so I had them
birds.
covered. I be having all the
So
tools.
yeah.
I got some tissue for your nose. I got some eye drops. I got a nail clipper. I got everything you could think of in my bag. Some band-aids. You gotta always have a first aid kit. But that's not the reason why I didn't like cruises. Actually, it stems back to when we were younger. Bodies of water in general, whether it's a lake, a river, a little pond, animals love me, and it's a ridiculous love. As much as when I was 3 years old, a dog jumped on me and people couldn't find me for 10, 15 minutes because the dog was encompassing my little body. But with the sea itself, and even with the lake when we were boating when we were in our teenage years, an eel wrapped itself around my leg and tried to drag me down. I've had a jellyfish stuck on my back. I've had a cardboard stingray slice up my leg. And here's the funniest one. We were at a hotel on the beach in the Caribbean, and there were crabs in the pool.
Are you Dr. Doolittle?
I've also had birds. It's not that they're exactly attacking me, but they do try and land on me quite often, especially if I'm outside having a conversation. So I prefer to stay in the restaurant until it's actually time to go, because Jessica can attest. We were actually having a conversation with all our sisters outside, and a bird just swoops, almost hits my head and lands on this shoulder instead. And so I'm like, what do you want? Please. Like,
Here,
please
take
don't
my wallet.
attack me.
Take my wallet, please.
I've had
She's like Snow White if Snow White did not like animals.
because they're literally they're just so aggressive. And it's not, like I said, it's not just limited to sea
Because
animals,
it's
it's
real
animals in
animals, not
general.
Disney.
Yeah. It's there have been snakes try to get me. I've had coyotes have approached me when I lived in California, a mountain lion. The mountain lion didn't exactly approach me. Approached my cousin. I was a little further away. I've had butterflies stuck in my eyelashes. Like, seriously, animals love me to the point where I'm not sure what to do because I'm scared of all of them.
I
I
mean,
love dogs now, but for a
animals
while I
tend
was
to
scared of them.
approach.
They
I've
do.
had
Even
animals tend to
I could
approach,
walk
but
outside and the bug's like waiting to swoop down
I'm
on
not
me.
freaked out
It's
like she
like,
is. So,
Yeah, animal
yeah,
whisperer.
oh, and
yeah.
remember that one time when we were so they convinced me when we were in the Caribbean. I can't remember which were we in Dominican Republic or Mexico. Her and my partner convinced me to get on one of those jets where you ride behind somebody and hold on to them.
Oh,
And
jet ski.
I felt, oh, in fact, I was holding on to my older sister. And when it flipped over, I wasn't able to hold on, and there was a hammerhead shark. It just, I don't know if you know, hammerhead sharks are not super aggressive. They don't attack. I didn't know that at the time,
They just
but
hang out.
it was right underneath me, and I'm wave after wave is just knocking me down. So yeah, and I still keep going back because they always convince me. I have even been paragliding with them
It's
over the
beautiful.
sea. It was really fun, really nerve-wracking for my poor chest. I was like, if I fall in, I'm done. We've been on a boat and there a whale. It was this little bitty boat. I can't remember what activity we were doing, but a whale just like comes by and almost knocks the boat over. Like, come on. Yeah, animals. Could write a good book
You
about
Dr.
them.
Doolittle. You're Dr. Doolittle. I
Right.
am convinced you are Dr. Doolittle.
I love
100.
traveling though. Like I
I
have
do. I still love
traveling.
traveling.
Like we've been when I finally did start traveling when I was older. I decided to start doing at least one trip per year. Especially at my current job, I've been there almost 9 years.
Hmm.
And you get 4 weeks of vacation. So I was like, perfect. So I was like, every year we got to do something, and I'd like to at least once a year go international. And so we started to try to go places, that we could go to at that time. So at this point, we've been to a couple of places. I would love to go further. Oh my God, I really really want to go to Ireland,
Oh my
like
God, so
Ireland
bad.
and
Yes.
Scotland.
Yes.
Ireland and Scotland are like definitely on my bucket
Yes.
list.
That could be our trip
Yes.
this year,
Um,
That is
maybe.
my travel
I
bucket
got
list.
well, we
Scotland.
were
We're
talking about
going
going
to
to
Scotland in
Japan.
May.
Was that this year?
Yeah.
Markeisha and I were talking about Japan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Wait a
don't know if you
minute.
want. Do you
When
want
y'all
that
plan to do that? Because you
in the
know
thing?
what? Me and
Yeah, that's
was
fine.
talking about going to Japan next year to go for blossom season.
Yeah,
Well, just
I
let
talked to
us
him
know
about that too.
when. My daughter
We
already
were
has her
talking about going
passport.
for Keisha's 40th.
I'm down.
Oh.
Because I'm
Look,
getting up
just let me
there.
know the dates.
Let's do it. I'm big on planning, so I can definitely do a lot of the planning portion. I'm huge on planning and putting together itineraries. Most of the when we came to Hawaii, when we did the cross country and then went to Hawaii, I planned that, stop by stop. Definitely, I love that. We
And
I gotta
sorry.
plan something soon, or my little one gonna
Excuse
drive me
me.
crazy.
Yeah.
I gotta
So
plan something soon.
even if we can't get out of the US specifically, there are actually a lot of nice places here in the US. We have traveled all over, whether it's California, Minnesota, Tennessee. We've been to Arkansas. Colorado has some beautiful statues of cows like all over, especially in Boulder. Michigan. We've of course been all up and down the East Coast. I can't think of one state that we haven't been on the East Coast actually, because we've been to Virginia. We're from Massachusetts. We've been to New Hampshire, of course, Maine, Connecticut, of course, Jersey and Philly because we have family there in Pennsylvania. We've been in New York, of course, because we have family there as well. Actually, we have family in quite a few states anyway, so it's always fun to go there and spend time with our families. Um, as far as the West Coast, I know we've been to Vegas, we've been to New Orleans, we've been to. I don't think we've ever been to Wyoming. What's in
I haven't been
Wyoming?
to
I'm sure they have
or
something.
Washington. I haven't
I've
been
been
to
to
Washington.
Washington. I've been to Washington. It's
Washington
actually
State.
really beautiful there. I got taken on a trip for my
It,
birthday one year and it was really beautiful and the food was amazing and the people were really nice. Um, so, and I actually drove when I moved to California, I actually drove up to Colorado and down to California. So I've been through all those states. It was a really fun drive. It took about 40 hours to get from Florida to Colorado. Me and my cousin were hitting it. When she slept, I drove and vice versa. So that was fun.
that's a long drive. Oh,
Well,
that
I love driving in general. If I'm taking a trip with family, I think one of the best things you can do is take a road trip because one, you get to stop whenever you feel like it. You don't have to worry about anybody else being like, "Oh, well, this is on the itinerary." Not when I plan it. I plan to get to California by 3 days from now. And there's so many places in between, especially when we go up and down the East Coast, because we actually drive whenever we're going to Massachusetts, we mostly drive. There's this place called South of the Border in between South and North Carolina that we have to stop at every time we drive. It's been a thing since we were probably in our preteen years.
Before that. Oh.
Yeah, maybe before that. Um, it's changed somewhat, but not much. They have a hat shop where they have all different types of hats from all around the world, and we every time we go and we put on a hat, and me, our older sister Frances, and Jessica used to always make it a point. And this is before we started having more siblings. We would each put on the "Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil," and of course, I believe every year we would switch it up, but every year we would take that picture. It was our thing. And as we got older, we haven't been able to go together as much. Um, but I, when I started taking the children, because I would take my brothers and my niece on trips for like 4 or 5 years, I was able to take them up to Massachusetts and back to see my grandmother. And I would always make sure to stop there. It's a really fun place. They have old school, it's a cafeteria type place where they have old school nachos, hot dogs, and hamburgers. And I swear they haven't changed since we were little. Ice cream. They have a
For
arcade.
better or worse. For better or worse, they haven't changed since we were little.
They have an arcade that's actually not that expensive. I believe it's only 50 cents per game right now. It was 25 cents when we were growing up. I mean, it has been a few years since I've been there, but the last time, which was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they were 50 cents a pop. And they still have penny stores. So for all those who don't know what a penny store is, it's where you can go into the store and actually buy stuff for pennies. So they have
you
pennies,
talking about like a
nickels,
five and
dimes.
dime store, like a five and
Yes.
dime store.
Yes, they
See,
have stores
in
like
other
that,
places, they would be a five
and
and
it's
dime.
really nice. So you can actually like
Yeah.
buy little trinkets for a penny, 5 cents, 10 cents. Like I said, it's been a few years since I've been, so I don't know if they still have those particular stores, but I'm sure they probably have the majority of the stores still there because they had them since I was little for over 20 something years. We were going up and down.
Okay. So I want to ask one last question because we're getting to the end of the podcast, but um, what is one hope that you have for your future? One hope, one dream, one thing that you really, really would want for your future.
I want to buy land and have all of my family live on the same land, like not just an acre, like 3 or 4 acres, and everybody can have houses. And we have a huge family, so if I can make it possible that every single family member could come and build a house on my land, or even share the land, if we all put in together, and we can even build storefronts on the front to keep up with the taxes and all that kind of stuff. I would love to have something like that to where we build the community with our family. And not to say that outsiders can't come in eventually, but I really believe that to continue to help other people I need to go to the roots and help my family first. Because not saying that I ever forgot my family, because I probably communicate with every single person in our family. Um, I'm the go-to to, I remember everybody's birthdays, and I love everybody ridiculously to where it's like, you're not just my cousin, you're my sister. You're not just my cousin, you're my brother. And I would love for them to all live in the same space and not have any financial worries.
Continue on my journey as, you know, being financially independent, building generational wealth for my children, so they can be set up for life and continue to enjoy my life. Sometimes people seem to forget that just because you got kids, you're not a human being or you don't have a life. That's not true. Live your life, and the children, they just on board. They on board it to enjoy it and to enjoy the ride. So I just want to continue my comfortability of life right now and to eventually expand from here.
What about you, Keisha?
Mm, I mean, I do want to be able to just live life on my terms. Ride this whole free will thing out to the very end and make the most of it. So that would include traveling. It would include owning and being close to the people I love, for sure. What about you,
From
Jess?
for myself, I would like to find a life partner that I do all of that with. And that is to include being able to be a financial partner, a spiritual partner, to be goofy on the porch at 3 a.m. and also sit and do a financial planning session at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Somebody that I can truly live my life with, but also who is on board to understand about the closeness that I have with my family and the thing that I want to build for the future, the generational wealth that I want to build, whether even if we don't have kids, I want to be able to expand with my family to for generational wealth within our generation and the ones that come behind me. And I want to be able to find somebody to share in that dream and build it until they get here, and then they would lead really,
Flourish.
they're leading the charge. It would flourish, and really they're leading whatever family that we make, but, somebody that I can align with and truly live that dream with. So, that's one of my biggest but right
I
now I'm
love
just
that for
focused
you.
on me. I mean,
Don't
I know
worry.
God
I've
has
already
me
spoken to
planned.
God. I know it's coming. I have all the faith for you.
I have faith. I just know that
Well, I
between
have
now
none
and
of the
then, it's
worry
gonna
you
be
that you
difficult.
have. I know you tend to worry about stuff. I have none of that because I know it's coming.
Yeah,
I know that you're
I
too
try
good
not
of
to
a
worry.
person for it not to happen.
Amen.
Thank you. You're gonna get what you deserve, and not in a bad way.
Oh gosh.
Ooh, you're gonna
Alright.
get it. No, I'm not kidding.
Hmm.
Alright, so in this episode, we talked about our hopes and dreams. We talked about, the hopes that we had as a young person and how those progressed as we lived our lives and sometimes the different roads that we ended up going down, based upon events in our life, that kinda derailed us, but sometimes in the best way possible. We talked about travel and we talked about how much that is ensconced in our lives and the hopes that we have for our future. And we talked about the hopes that we have now moving forward. In the comments down below, tell us about your hopes and dreams. Tell us about maybe things that hopes that you had when you were younger and hopes that you have now. And if you have any suggestions, go ahead and put them in the comments, suggestions for any future episodes. And you're welcome to also DM us and let us know if you have any questions or any topics that you'd like for us to touch on. Thanks for joining us again on another episode of Different Walks, Serious Talks. Catch you next time.